Can you get a Yamaha UD-Stomp sound on a Boss DD-500? Let's find out. You've just been listening to me playing through the almost mythical UD-Stomp. I was lucky enough to get one back in the late 90s when they were still making them, and it's a pretty amazing delay unit. It's got 8 discrete delay lines that can be combined in parallel or series, and each delay line has modulation, independent low and high cut filters, all kinds of goodies. You can create very complex sounding delays. It really was ahead of its time. So, since the UD-Stomp isn't made anymore, a burning question for me has always been, how can I get UD-Stomp-like sounds out of a more modern delay? Well, I've kind of found a solution, at least, that gets me in the right direction, and that is the Boss DD-500. So I'd like to walk through today a particular patch that I think approximates the UD-Stomp sound that you just heard. Real quick on the UD-Stomp patch, this is 011. It's called Chorus 1 by the late, great Allan Holdsworth. And basically it uses all 8 of the delay lines, and it has them basically panned right and left, alternating right and left pans, anywhere from about 23 milliseconds on up to 450 milliseconds. And there's also some modulation on each delay line. And let's see, the shorter delays are bumped all the way up in terms of level. The longer delays are at about 65% of the total level of the effect level, if that makes sense. So pretty complex settings. That gives you a really nice sound. And again, let me just play just a little bit here so you can hear it. And some volume swells. All right, I've got the DD-500 hooked up, and here's what my UD-Stomp ripoff patch sounds like. Let's try some volume swells. Now, wasn't that nice? I really like the sound of it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not exactly like the UD-Stomp. I'm not sure that any delay could precisely replicate the UD-Stomp, but I think it sounds pretty good. So, how did I get the sound? First up, I dialed up the pattern delay type on the DD-500. This particular delay type is actually comprised of 16 delay lines. So pretty cool. Twice as much as the UD-Stomp, 16 instead of 8. Each delay line can be set to either a percentage of the overall tap tempo or a fraction of the tap tempo. Each delay line can also be panned right and left, and you can adjust the relative volume of each delay line in relation to each other. So, what did I do? Well, basically, I set the overall tap tempo to 450 milliseconds, and that's the length of the longest delay line for this particular patch on the UD-Stomp. I then got out my calculator and calculated the percentage of each other delay line's delay time compared to 450 milliseconds, if that makes sense. So delay line number 1, I set to 5% of the 450. Delay line number 2 was 7. 3 was 9, 4 was 11, 5 was 67, 6 was 89, 7 was 76, and of course, delay line number 8 was the full 100% of the 450 milliseconds. I then pretty much panned each delay line full left or full right according to the patch of the UD-Stomp. I don't have individual modulation on each of the 16 delay lines, but I have overall modulation. So I set that to kind of approximate what the UD-Stomp is doing for each of its delay lines. And I think that's where the main difference lies. I don't have 8 separate modulation settings. I only have 1. But all in all, again, I think it sounds pretty good, and it's relatively close to that UD-Stomp vibe. All right, pretty cool. What I will do is put a link to the UD-Stomp patch list in the video description. I will also put all of the detailed settings for my patch in the video description too.